You have maybe 20 minutes before your fingers stop working. The wind is screaming across the frozen steppe, driving ice crystals into your face like tiny knives. Your clothes, made from animal hide stitched together with sinew, are damp from the snow that melted against your body heat during the hunt. Now that heat is bleeding away, and the sun is dying behind a wall of gray clouds. This is the Ice Age, roughly 25,000 years ago. There are no matches, no lighters, no emergency shelters waiting for you. There is only what you carry, what you know, and whether or not you can make fire before the cold takes you. Here is what most people do not understand about fire in conditions like this. It is not about strength. It is not about luck. It is about knowledge passed down through generations. Techniques that work when everything in nature is fighting against you. And tonight, everything is wet. The snow has been falling for hours. The ground is covered. The trees are glazed with frost. Every branch you touch leaves your hands wetter than before. The tinder you need, the fine dry material that catches a spark, seems to have vanished from the earth entirely. This is where most people would die, but you will not, because you know the bone-dry trick. Let me take you through exactly what happens next, step by step, the way your ancestors actually survived nights like this. And I promise you, by the end, you will understand why making fire in a wet Ice Age blizzard is one of the most impressive feats of human intelligence ever developed. First, you need to understand your real enemies tonight. Most people think the enemy is the cold. It is not. Cold is just the consequence. Your real enemies are moisture, wind, and time. These three forces work together to steal every scrap of heat you try to create. Moisture is everywhere. It is in the air, on every surface, soaking into any material you might use for fuel. When you try to ignite wet tinder, something devastating happens. Instead of catching fire, the heat energy you are creating gets absorbed by the water. It takes enormous energy just to evaporate that moisture, energy that should be igniting flames. This is why damp wood hisses and smokes but will not burn. The water is literally stealing the fire's heat. Wind is the second killer. Even if you manage to create a tiny ember, wind will rip away the heat before it can spread. Fire needs concentrated heat to grow. Wind disperses that heat instantly. A single gust at the wrong moment, and 10 minutes of work vanishes. Time is the third enemy, because your body is losing heat constantly. Your fingers are getting colder by the minute. The dexterity you need to work with fire-making tools, to spin a hand drill or strike sparks from iron pyrite, requires fine motor control. Once your core temperature drops too far, your hands become useless. You will fumble. You will drop things. And then it is over. 20 minutes. Maybe less. So here is what you do. You do not start by trying to make fire. That is the mistake that kills people. You start by creating a microclimate, a tiny protected zone where fire actually has a chance. You look for natural shelter, a rock overhang, a fallen tree, a dense cluster of evergreen branches that might block the wind. Anything that creates a wall between you and the gusts is valuable. If nothing exists, you create it. You pile up snow into a windbreak. You drag branches into a rough barrier. This takes precious energy, but it is not optional. Without wind protection, fire is nearly impossible. Inside this shelter, you clear a space on the ground. You scrape away the snow down to frozen earth or rock. You lay down a platform of sticks or bark, anything to insulate your fire from the frozen ground, which will suck heat downward relentlessly. Now comes the critical part, finding dry material in a world where everything seems wet. Here is the secret that kept humans alive for hundreds of thousands of years. Moisture moves slowly through solid material. The outside of a dead branch might be soaked, but the inside, especially deep inside, can still be dry. You are not looking for dry surfaces. You are looking for dry cores. Find a standing dead tree, one that died seasons ago but has not fallen yet. Living trees contain moisture. Fallen trees absorb moisture from the ground. But standing dead trees have been draining and drying for months or years. The wood inside the bark is often still dry. You pull off a branch. You break it, not on the outside, but deep inside. You expose the inner wood. If it snaps cleanly and the break is pale and dry-looking, you have found fuel. But you need more than fuel. You need tinder, material so fine and dry that it can catch from a spark or an ember. This is harder. Look at the underside of bark on that dead tree. The fibrous material between bark and wood can often be scraped into fine fluff. Protect this with your body. Cup it in your hands. Do not let snow or wind touch it. Another source is old bird nests or rodent nests hidden in tree hollows. Animals collect dry materials obsessively. Their nests can contain perfect tinder even in storms. But here is the part most people never realize. Sometimes there is no natural dry tinder. Sometimes the storm has been going for days. Sometimes everything, even the protected spaces, has absorbed moisture. This is where knowledge separates survival from death. You carry materials with you. Always. Ice Age humans did not wander naked and unprepared. They carried tinder in waterproof bundles, wrapped in animal bladders or tightly folded hide pouches. They carried dried grass, shredded bark, cattail fluff, materials they gathered in dry conditions and protected obsessively. But what if even that runs out? What if you have been traveling for days and your supplies are gone? This is where the bone-dry trick saves your life. You have bones with you, from the hunt, from previous kills. Perhaps a femur from a deer, or the leg bone of a horse. These bones are not fuel. They are not tinder in the traditional sense. But they contain something extraordinary: bone marrow. The marrow inside large bones is rich in fat. And fat, unlike wood, does not absorb moisture easily. The bone itself has protected the marrow from the elements. Even if the outside of the bone is wet or frozen, the interior still contains dry, fatty material that ignites readily. Here is how it works. You crack the bone open. This takes force. You use a rock, a hand axe, whatever tool you have. The bone splinters. Inside, you find the marrow, soft and greasy, and protected from the storm. Marrow does not burn like wood. It renders. When heated, the fat melts and becomes fuel. The trick is using the marrow to extend and intensify heat from a small ember, multiplying its power dramatically. You prepare your fire materials carefully. You have your tinder nest, whatever dry material you have managed to scrape together. You have small kindling sticks, toothpick thin, then pencil thin, then finger thin. You have larger fuel waiting. Now you work on ignition. If you are using a hand drill, you know the physics. You need a dry socket in your fireboard. You need a dry spindle. You need speed and pressure and endurance. Your hands are cold. Here is how you save your dexterity. You pause every few minutes and press your fingers against your neck, your armpits, any warm part of your body. You flex your hands vigorously. You restore blood flow. Working with numb hands leads to failure. You spin the drill. The friction builds heat. Smoke rises. Black dust accumulates in the notch of your fireboard. This dust is charred wood. It is holding heat. Slowly, an ember forms. This is the moment where most people make a fatal mistake. They blow too hard. An ember is fragile. It is maybe 1 millimeter of glowing material. A strong breath cools it instantly. Worse, if your breath carries moisture, that moisture condenses on the ember and kills it. Instead, you blow gently. Long, slow, steady breaths. You position yourself so the wind does not catch your work. You shield the ember with your body. The ember glows brighter, orange, then red, then white at the edges. Now, carefully, you transfer this ember into your tinder nest. You fold the tinder around it gently. You do not smother it. You do not crush it. You create a pocket of air around the ember while surrounding it with dry fibers. You continue blowing. Gently. The smoke thickens. The tinder begins to glow at the contact points. And here is where the bone-dry trick becomes powerful. Before the tinder catches flame, while it is still just smoldering, you add small amounts of marrow. Not directly on the ember. Near it. The heat renders the fat. The fat soaks into adjacent tinder, and fat-soaked tinder burns much hotter and much longer than dry plant fiber alone. Flame erupts. But you are not done. Flame is not fire. Flame is a process. It can die in seconds. You add kindling slowly. Too much and you smother the flame. Too fast and you cool it. The smallest sticks go first, then slightly larger, then larger still. Here is what everyone gets wrong. They want a big fire immediately. Big fires are wasteful. They consume fuel rapidly. They throw heat in every direction instead of concentrating it. And in wet conditions, they often fail because the outer fuel cannot dry fast enough to catch. What you want is a small, stable bed of coals. Coals are stored heat. They do not blow out. They do not need constant feeding. They dry the material around them and slowly convert it into more fuel. You build a modest fire. You protect it. You feed it carefully. You add slightly damp sticks around the edges, letting the fire's heat dry them before they are needed. The marrow trick works here too. Fat from marrow creates a hotter flame that dries damp wood faster. A few smears of marrow on kindling can mean the difference between a fire that struggles and a fire that thrives. Over time, the fire grows. The coals build. The heat begins to radiate outward. You position yourself to absorb that heat. You hold your hands near the flames, restoring warmth to your fingers. You dry your clothing carefully, not too close, not too fast. Steam rises from your hides. The frozen stiffness softens. You will survive tonight. But here is what I want you to understand about this moment. What kept you alive was not physical strength. It was not luck. It was intelligence. Specific, practical, learned intelligence passed from one generation to the next. Ice Age humans survived because they understood their environment with extraordinary precision. They knew which trees stayed dry. They knew how to read weather. They knew how to prepare and carry materials. They knew the physics of fire without ever hearing the words heat, fuel, and oxygen. The fire triangle. This basic principle that fire requires heat, fuel, and oxygen in the right balance. They understood it in their hands, in their breath, in their actions, thousands of years before anyone wrote it down. They cooperated. They shared knowledge. They taught children. They planned ahead. This was not superhuman ability. It was human ability. The same brain you have right now, the same capacity for learning and adaptation, existed in them. The difference is they needed this knowledge to survive every single day. We have lost most of it. We turn a dial and heat appears. We flip a switch and fire erupts. We have outsourced survival to technology, which is miraculous and dangerous at the same time. But somewhere in you, buried deep, is the same capacity, the same pattern recognition, the same ability to observe, learn, and adapt. If you have made it this far into this video, you are different from most viewers. You are curious about how things really work. You want to understand the layers beneath the surface. So let me ask you something. What else do you want to know? Drop a comment below and tell me what survival topic you want next. Ice Age hunting techniques, shelter building in frozen conditions, how ancient humans navigated without maps. Whatever interests you most, let me know and I will make it happen. If this video gave you something valuable, hit the like button. It tells the algorithm this content matters. Subscribe if you want more videos like this, and tap the bell so you actually see them when they drop. And if you know someone who loves survival history, ancient technology, or deeply fascinating stories about human resilience, send them this video directly. These topics deserve more attention than algorithm-friendly fluff. Thanks for watching. Stay curious. And remember, your ancestors survived impossible conditions with nothing but their minds and their hands. That same potential lives inside you.